Those conditions, as you said, would have been very, very humid and hot and sticky. Difficult for the touch black. So Australia heading out there to get this one underway, the starting 6. They're going to need an extra, Australia. They've only got 5 out there. They have got a 6th now as Naomi Parslow heads out there. She's going to head out to the right wing. So the touch blacks to get us underway. Match 5 on day 1. It's been Australia's day thus far. Will it continue in the 20s, girls? We'll wait and see. New Zealand with first use of the football. Michaela Moore taking the ball forward. Now here is Abbott. Quick play the ball. And immediately spun wide to Chamberlain. Just not enough space out there. And there's the handover, the final play for the Kiwis.
The Kiwis just probably not taking advantage, but it's still early days. It's just the beginning of the match, so they're getting, making sure that they're getting hands on the ball as the Australians make their way over halfway.
Well, they're just rolling up the field, aren't they? Getting a quick play the ball was Tiana Bryce. Just been really speedy in transition, Australia, from the opposite end of the ground to the northern end of number 2 sports ground, and they are over. Lisa Maimai to score first for the Australian Emus, or not. It's been disallowed. There was a last-minute touch there. So New Zealand are going to bring the ball out from their own red zone.
We're certainly no stranger to that name, Lisa Maimai. We've heard her name quite a bit when we've played against the Australian youth teams before.
And it's important the touch blacks stay with the Australian side early on. These crucial moments early, just to stay with them. And all of a sudden that might just build them a little bit of confidence if they can get in front. Diving low, but there wasn't touch made. Well done there from Lucy Fildes on the line.
And that was Tia Kimura going low there. Kimura's brother is also playing in this tournament in the 18 boys team.
There's a penalty going the way of Australia. As they drive down the middle through Slattery. Widen on to Abby King. Dummy in the step. Inside ball now to Thomas. As they look to spin it to the left. Back towards the inside. Thomas with the ball. Speedy work. And it is a try to Lucy McDonald. Rapid pace there just to evade the touch. And the Emus do get on the board first.
And here we go in the replay. Ball just great, picking that hole really well. Great hands. Spotting the gap, New Zealand defender just seeing that at the last minute, unable to make that touch.
I should say Abby King it was. Speedy stuff from her, the Australian number 4. And now the touch blacks have to respond. And they're going to try and do so through Baron Abbott. Down towards the goal line. Ball back on the inside to O'Neill, who's looking just to recalibrate things here for New Zealand.
O'Neill and Norman Bell.
Norman Bell with a cutout ball. There was some space out there for Chamberlain. To pass a little bit too much air and just allowed the Australian defence to get across. Was some space there for Williams Pup, but the handover and Australia now deep in their own half. We saw how easy it was for them before.
The New Zealand girls need to make their way forward. They're holding back and waiting for the Australian girls to come to them.
Stephanie Kelly now. And at dummy half was Taylor. And here is Lucy McDonald driving forward. And there's some space out here, but the pass just too far in front of Billy Taylor. If it had been right onto the chest, Australia probably would have doubled their lead inside 4 minutes.
Here we go, O'Neill with the ball. Backs going forward. On to Norma Bow. This has been a combination that have played together quite a bit. Isla Norma Bow with the ball.
It's just the difference in the ability to just make easy meters. Thus far, isn't it, Michael? Australia making very easy meters from deep in their own half. New Zealand struggling somewhat. They're only on halfway now.
The Australians are doing it with a rhythm. That's a great go forward by Lisa Putt.
Terrific run from Putt.
One of the differences that we're seeing here, Ben, is just the rhythm and the flow. It's also smooth from the Australian girls. The New Zealanders at this stage is a little bit disjointed. Probably looking for the next runner.
We're going to have a good look at that flow here as Australia look to spin it out to the left. Taylor back on the inside. Here's McDonald. Taylor was there again. Pick up first to Bauer. Back it comes for Mai. Now scooting out a dummy half. There is some space out to the right, but just ran out of options there. Is going to be 6 to go for the Aussies. Was touched in flight. So tap to be taken by Bauer. Mai on her right. She uses her. Tiana Bryce takes the touch. Terrific drive forward there from Mai. Couldn't quite get to the line though. Really good opportunity this for the Aussie Emus to double their advantage. Space, plenty of it out to the right. They were queuing up, and it's Parslow who goes over in the corner to make it 2-0 to Australia.
And just like that, and we see on the replay. There they go, they set up great pass by Bryce out to her winger number 3, Parslow. Just catching, just drawing the New Zealand defence in, leaving space out on the wing.
There's an error straight off the tap. You can ill afford that. Down 2-0 after 6 minutes. You're right, fighting more pressure, really.
You're right, Ben. You've got the New Zealand girls need to stay in contact in the early parts of this game.
So Meg Muir out there in 14. Back on the inside to Thomas, who returned the favour to Muir, but she's spilled the ball. She was saying it was knocked out, but referee having none of it as we see Abbott bring it forward. And they find some space here, New Zealand. Decent run by the co-captain Potts.
It was a better go forward, just didn't have the next runner coming off. So it's slowed down a bit, but here we go. Girls are picking it up again.
Norman Bell, yeah, back on the inside to O'Neill. Here's Norman Bell out of dummy half. And she has been touched the acting half, but Australia not back the 10. Good awareness there from Isla Norman Bell. Now here is Olivia O'Neill. Norman Bell to Olivia O'Neill, who was touched just before the line. Going to take it 5 out.
Norman Bell is the recent convert into the New Zealand Sevens program. So,
what a strong program that is. How good's that rivalry going to be at the Olympics this year, Michael?
Exactly. So she's tagged in the development squads there. So yeah, it's good to see her out, still playing touch.
Well, Norman Bell to O'Neill. The pass was touched by Australia. Another 6 for the Kiwis. Can they make something of this? But it's been Australia's defence, which has just been outstanding on their line thus far. They've cramped the Kiwis' style. Here is Norman Bell, swiftly out of dummy half. Good last-ditch touch again from the Emus defensively, but Norman Bell looking pretty dangerous at the moment. Her and O'Neill trying to conjure up something, the two middles at the moment. Norman Bell, well touched there by Abby King, who scored the first try for Australia. Norman Bell to Williams Pup. Now O'Neill goes for a scoot. Looks like the touch was made.
Quite static play from the 20 girls, which enables the Emus just to really set their defence. So it's hard to get across the line like that.
That's the difference at the moment in that red zone. Australia's speed of attack is superb. So look to box it here. Make some changes, Australia. Here's another penalty. And after having the ball where they wanted to themselves, the Kiwis, now they allow Australia to come right back at them. This would hurt after doing so much attacking. Mai on to Stephanie Kelly. She has McDonald just waiting to go dummy half. Returns it to Kelly. Decent ball. Well, she took it straight to the line and it was unable to be handled by McDonald. It was neat build-up from Australia again. Penalty going the way of the Touch Blacks.
So let's see if the Kiwis this time can get a bit of a flow on, as they did when they came through the field last time. On Bow, O'Neill finding space near the sub-box as they get a fresh pair of legs. Referee just seeing an infringement, just not getting back on site.
Yes, so they've been given some opportunities now, New Zealand. They just have to make the most of them. Down 2-0 as we're near the halfway point. We're over the halfway point in this first half, 20-minute halves. Taking it to the line with a cutout ball with Sycamore. Decent ball out to the wing. But Australia's defence up to the task yet again. Has gone forward actually, so that is going to result in Australia having possession, 5 out from their own line.
Very experienced player is young Meg Sycamore, New Zealand flag bearer for this Trans Tasman as well. And here we go as we see the flow on again of the 20s girls coming through the field.
Well, Bryce on the inside looking to link up again. Podmore and Bryce. And here's the cutout ball again, not finding hands. So Australia just looking a little clunky in attack at times, even though they do lead 2-0 at the moment. They probably would like to be a little more clinical. So New Zealand bring it away through Michaela Moore. They look to make some changes again, the Touch Blacks.
Here we go. Lisa Putt making some good yards going forward there. Kemera.
Yeah, Kemera, very good drive there forward. And here is a try for the Touch Blacks. They're back in it. Terrific stuff. And it was Taylor Stone who got the football down. Australia didn't take their opportunities. And New Zealand did. And they've halved the deficit.
And here we go. New Zealand setting it up there with a pick by Hayden Potts. The other co-captain of the team finding the runner hitting the lane. Well done, and New Zealand reply.
Well, how much confidence will that give the Touch Blacks?
I'm sure there's a lot of instructions going on in the subbing box by the co-coaches, Dana Turnbull and Latoya Tainui McIntyre.
Well, terrific inside ball. As soon as we say that, it was Abby King straight into the breadbasket of Marama Thomas. 3-1 Australia. Gaping hole right in the heart of the Kiwis' defence.
Just a late read on that by the link. Let's see if the Touch Black girls can have a quick reply, get a quick reply in there. They're asking for a recount. Sycamore, Michaela Moore.
There is Sycamore to the line and dives and stretches. The touch was called by Lucy McDonald. Penalty going the way of the Touch Blacks. They weren't on site. Need to have 2 feet on the line. So played by Sycamore. Quick play the ball. Well, maybe the wrong option there. Inside ball from Michaela Moore. There was space out to the right for Collins Gilmer. A number 11 just to the right. She does receive the pass now. Down she goes. Sycamore and wide. The dive from Michaela Moore. Unable to thwart the Aussies. She's having a chat here to the touch judge. Are they going to award this?
Moore and Sycamore are a school combination. The girls go to school together, or used to. Meg, I think, is starting university this year.
And a very dangerous combination, as we've seen thus far. So no try, the touch was made. There's Sycamore. On to Moore. Commentator's dream, those two.
Here we go.
Collins Gilmer to the line. And here is Sycamore. What a ball. Up over the shoulder. Back on the inside. That is a beautiful try from the Touch Blacks. And it is 3-2
Here we
to
see
Australia.
on the replay. Moore with a pick. Sycamore draws in her defender. Almost apart, no look pass. Collins Gilmore with the really steady pass. There you see it.
I think it was that up over the shoulder. Crowd, they may not have looked like they enjoyed it, but they certainly did. They're enjoying this action here in the 20s girls.
I'm sure Ian Foster for the All Blacks saw that as well. He'll be asking some of his players to do something similar for the All Blacks. As we've got the Aussies making their way down the line.
Well, they scored after conceding last time, the Aussies. Can they do likewise again? It looks as though they will. Good quick hands. Naomi Parslow over again. And the Emus respond as they did previously, 4-2 to Australia.
One of the things I mentioned earlier, Bill, about what we've come to know with an Emus team is not just the fitness, not just the speed, but it's the ball skills, the handling, you know. It's a prime example of the skill level of Australian teams.
Well, the Touch Blacks have made a really good fist of this thus far, especially considering last time they met at the 2018 Youth World Cup. They were beaten 3-1 in the 20s. 4-2 at the moment. Can they make something happen? O'Neill is back out there with Isla Norman Bell. They can't make something happen on this occasion. Inside 5 minutes until half-time. Great to have your company at the Youth Trans Tasman Touch Championships for 2020 on Bar TV Sports.
This is when we need the Touch Blacks to really show some energy in these last 4 minutes. We don't want to let the game get away from them.
Abby King plays the ball. Harama Thomas back to King. And King, it just opened up once again for Abby King. She's over once more for the Emus, and they extend their advantage to 5-2. Just too easy. She's just got too much speed. She was given probably half that amount of an opening earlier in the match, and she scored. And she was given an opening you could have basically driven a bus through, and she was always going to take that.
Let's see what the Touch Blacks have to answer. Co-captain, one of the leaders there, Sycamore, is probably directing play.
There is Sycamore. Well, there's space out to the left. Now they're queuing up. Collins Gilmore out there. So it's Sycamore and Baron Abbott, the brains trust in the middle here for New Zealand. And here is Sycamore to the line. Dove a long way out, and that was going to be very, very difficult. It was almost a Houdini-like effort if she was going to get there to score.
But longer arms would have suited her then.
Yeah, Inspector Gadget. So Australia now with a comfortable advantage. Can they extend it before the break? They've really pulled away in the last 5 minutes or so. We see Podmore take it towards the sideline. She's going to head off for a quick break. McDonald now finds Fildes. McDonald out of dummy half, cutout ball. Hit the deck in front of Billy Taylor. 2 minutes until half-time, Michael.
Here we go.
They just can't concede another try, can they, the Touch Blacks?
This is mentally where you really need to stay in the game. Just work through the field, get yourself in good position. Here we go. Lisa Putt would be very impressed with Putt's go forward there. And here we go. Potts.
This is really good Bitwell. Well, I was going to say commentator's curse. Not really. They're going to get a penalty out of Australia offside. The guilty party, Lucia Fildes.
We have with us at the moment there, you can see, one of our provincial combinations there with Kemera and Potts. Both play together in their province.
So really good understanding between those two. You just see Kemera up to the line. Took the touch, so Potts and Kemera. Is that how they're trying to work at the Kiwis? Trying to get the two middles out there, players that know each other well. As we said, this ball wide to Kemera. Great step. That's a try. Well, she's caught the Aussies napping there. Beautiful work from Tia Kemera. And right before half-time, they needed that. And they should have enough
Here we
time
go.
to be
Set
able to
up.
hold out.
Kimura. The two Aussie girls just go past her, and she sees a gap opening, and Tia Kimura takes that opportunity with a touchdown.
The Aussies probably will be very disappointed with the sliding defence there. No one there on the inside. So they've got 20 seconds to hold out the Touch Blacks. Crucial period here. They're down by 2. They cannot afford to concede here. Ball back on the inside. It looks decent. Was the touch called by O'Neill? It was. And that will do us for the first half of action in the 20s girls in the Youth Trans Tasman Touch Championships. A really good first half performance from the Kiwis, but Australia just edging them 5-3 at the break. Michael, you must be pretty pleased with what you've seen there from your girls.
Yeah, look, very pleased from what we're seeing. A fight back. Some early touchdowns by the Aussie girls, but New Zealand showing some really grit and some smart play on the attack line.
Well, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back in 5 minutes for the resumption of the second half. Australia, the Emus, 5-3 over the Touch Blacks. Welcome back to Newcastle for the 2020 Youth Trans Tasman Touch Championships. Match number 5 on day 1. So 3 test series. This is the first day, and it is the under 20 Australian team leading 5-3 against the Touch Blacks from New Zealand. And Michael King, do you think the Aussies will continue, or New Zealand a chance of pulling this one back? This is a big set, really. First set of the second half. If the Aussies can make it a 3-try advantage, which they will. On cue, beautiful passing out to the left, just swift ball movement as we've seen all afternoon from them.
Yeah, probably the coach called that as a starter play, so definitely trying to isolate New Zealand's defence, pull in the middle and link, exactly what they did there, found the open player. So very smart move, but I think you're right. It's about trying to dominate right at the early stage of the second half.
And as easy as that looked, that was terrific stuff from Lisa Maimai, just to find Georgia Harris, catch and pass, draw and pass, made it look very, very simple, but it is difficult. And a difficult skill to execute when you've got a defence rushing up at you. So lost ball, referee just checking whether it was knocked out and whether there was a chance for an infringement. Not so, and Australia driving forward now. You're mentioning this in the first half, Michael, just the flow forward from the Aussie Emus. Here's some space for Abby Smith. Good catch and pass, Georgia Harris. Showing some toe, but it was Victoria Sycamore, the middle, getting across to make the touch out wide. And good touch.
Good touch this time. Yeah, and you see that's a prime example of New Zealand just backpedaling, and the Australians just getting that flow that we've seen in the first half. I'm sure they would continue to do that. We would expect that, and I'm sure what our coaches from the New Zealand team would probably be just trying to slow that down, maybe just getting a bit more upfront touches, not allowing the quick roll ball to happen.
Or can they find a way to the line? Good touch there on Baron Abbott, but just had a look at the Kiwi bench there. And Victoria Sycamore just headed off after that set of attackers. They boxed the ball, and she looked a little frustrated because that would have fatigued her, that chase from the middle out to the wing, and all of a sudden you lose her then in attack if she's doing that defensive work. Here's a penalty to Australia.
I talked earlier just about the introduction of the Premier Touch League in New Zealand, and Meg Sycamore was a key role player for the franchise that she played for, so losing someone of that experience and talent would be a big blow to the Touch Blacks.
A terrific player, as we've seen thus far. Baron Abbott to the line. Here's Highland Potts, one of the co-captains for the Touch Blacks. Lisa Putt spinning it wide. You've been very impressed with her thus far. As this woman, she's been impressive too, Isla Norman Bell. She's out there with Olivia O'Neill. So those two have been matched up, those two middles.
Olivia's a very smart player. She knows how to read the game well.
Well, there's some space. Plenty out to the right for New Zealand. And the touch has been made. Should have she thrown the ball, Olivia O'Neill? I know the match is a lot easier to play up here, Michael, but there were numbers out there to the right.
Yeah, I think she had that as the thing that she was going to do, but it's a lost opportunity. But here we go again. Let's see if we can just stop this roll on.
Well, rolling is what Australia are doing quite easily at the moment. Tiani Bryce to the left. Well, that's just too easy. That is way too easy for Australia. Naomi Parslow over once again. Simple stuff from Australia. Basically running around the Kiwis' defence there.
And here we see on the replay.
Good stuff from Tiana Bryce. Just straight around her opposite number.
As a player, when you make a decision to dive, it's a risky one, because if you do miss, you're on the ground. It's difficult to get back up again. But knowing Lisa, she will pick herself up again. She's got a lot of determination and grit.
Meg Muir driving to the line and just coughed up. That's the second time the Emus have coughed the ball up coming out. Stephanie Kelly dropping it on that occasion cold. Maybe just had a little peek in front of her. Collings Gilmer now to the right for Michaela Moore. Gets the ball down quickly. And they find something. That pass looked to pull forward and was.
The on-field referee getting a call from the sideline, seeing that as a forward pass. We'll pick up.
Australia to the right. There's a lot of space out to the left. If they want to use it, they are going to box it and make some changes. Podmore. Here's Abby King. It's been very impressive thus far. Out of dummy half. Good run from Slattery. Short ball. Space aplenty for Thomas, and Australia make it 8.
So here we go on the replay as they set themselves up again. Potts takes the angle. Slattery picks the ball and goes on the outside, and catching the New Zealand middle and link, just unable to get her back. And it takes the score to Australia 7, New Zealand 3.
Here's the ball to the line. I think it's 8. Australia up to 8.
8. Yes, 8.
3-0 since half-time. What's happened to the Touch Blacks after the break?
Just come. Yeah, look, they've probably just come out and said, look, let's just try and maintain where we've started. But the Australians have really put.
Oh, Abby King, that was awkward as she fell over the sideline with some pressure and a little bit of a shove from a New Zealand hand. She looks to be all right. Just fell awkwardly, really.
Yeah, it's difficult when the player's going down to plant the ball and you get a bit of a nudge that you do fall over on the side, and it looked very awkward. Let's hope that she's okay.
She's been excellent thus far. So O'Neill now with Abbott. Just slowing things down here, the Touch Blacks, as they wait for some reinforcements through Sycamore, who's out there now. She's in there at dummy half. Now to the left, there's some space here. Little Jenkins step back on the inside from Michaela Moore. Couldn't trick the Aussies, but she has done the next best thing, and that's win her side a penalty. So Sycamore, the maestro here in the middle. What can she come up with alongside Michaela Moore? Sycamore and Moore.
Just doing a little 33 quickie there. The 32 longs, just what we saw earlier, where the ball is passed out to the other middle, where it's a bit of a foot race. I think that's one of the things they should try, because it does spread out the defence. And here we go.
There it is, dummied and straight
across
through
the
Sycamore.
line. Can she find an open player?
Well, I think she has done well there. I think that is a try to Michaela Moore. So that combination, Sycamore and Moore combining for another try for the Touch Blacks.
There we see Meg through middle. Starts to turn on her netball skills there and finds Michaela Moore. And the Kiwis strike back.
I remember playing netball at high school, Michael, and you used to bring out the touch footy skills playing netball, I remember. So they
can be interchanged. There we go.
Very good skill set to have. All comes down to the hand-eye coordination. Here's Australia. Lucy McDonald driving through the middle. Now with My, pass just behind McDonald. Now, just a report, Abby King is just walking around. She looks to be all right after that awkward fall over the sideline, which is good news.
So you just see there, Lisa My, just as she's running towards that gap, she's just throwing some dummies, just trying to get the defence off.
Another penalty.
Touch Blacks get a penalty. O'Neill with the ball. So we've got the O'Neill-Norma Bell combination.
Can they bridge the deficit to 3? Mini fight back here from the Touch Blacks. Lucy McDonald was up out of the line. O'Neill was diving. The touch was made, according to the referee. Gee, that was touch and go, really.
It was touch and go. Good option. Now's a chance where you really want to widen that gap with the 3 so they're not in so close.
O'Neill to Norman Bell. Decent cutout ball, but Australia up to the task defensively via Parslow, the left winger. Norman Bell. Was that touched by an Aussie? It wasn't. Just straight to ground.
Like to see our the Touch Blacks really to get up and just apply some pressure, just try and slow this go forward that the Aussie girls had.
Well, there's an unforced error, you'd call it. And if they can spin it to the right, there are not many emus out there. O'Neill now getting the ball onto Abbott. So O'Neill is going to try and link up with Sycamore. She's just going to head off. So Sycamore and Moore, the two middles for this little attacking raid for the Touch Blacks. And Moore diving for the line. The touch was made by Thomas. Try scorer in the second half for the Aussie Emus. More to the line, trying to just weave a way through. Couldn't do so. And the handover goes the way of the Aussies, who are just going to try and drive it down the park again. This is their bread and butter.
Certainly is, and just the straight line is always the quickest way from one point to another.
Well, they've even got an overlap out to the left. Closed up by the Touch Blacks. So Abby King out there. Back out there after that injury. And there is acres of space out to the left. There is the netball pass back on the inside for Podmore. But the scrambling defence from the New Zealand side was up to the task on that occasion. 8-4, final 10 minutes of this one. So far it's been the Emus who have won 3 of the 4 matches played. The 20 boys coming up next. It looks as though they're going to make it 4 out of 5. In the 20s girls this one. 6 matches to be played each day in the 3-test series.
And here we go, Kibera and Potts. Very smart operators here. Let's see what these two girls can conjure up as they put Aussie on the try line.
These two have been very, very dangerous, Kemera and Potts. And immediately the cutout ball and getting across was Parslow to ensure that they didn't add to the 4 tries already scored. It was Chamberlain attempting to go over in the corner. So Australia going to make some changes here as they shuffle the deck chairs. and drive it forward via Mai. The left for Bauer. Bryce back to Bauer. On the final play here, the Emus wants the option back on the inside. Mai knocked down. Well, that's not a bad result for Australia. Final play, and they get another 6.
It's unfortunate for the Touch Blacks. It looked like a touch, but anyway, this is what we've got in front of us now.
I think fair call. Touch was made before the pass.
So let's see what defensive attacking shape the Touch Black.
Well, there was the quickie between Muir and also Bryce. It almost worked a treat for Australia. Not quite, though. Just over 6 minutes remaining in this one. Australia almost there, leading by 4 tries. Bryce. Muir back on the inside. Gee whiz, that was tight with the touch pass. And the cutout ball knocked down by Kiwi hand. Should be 6 to go for the Emus once again. Pressure just mounting on the Touch Blacks at the moment.
The time when you really want your communication. You need the whole line talking.
Now Bryce wide, it goes from Muir.
Good work there. Good work by Kimura and Putt, working as a unit there.
So Bryce just holding it up for Australia. Muir went down, cut out ball, way out in front of Georgia Harris. She needed a big swan dive if she was to get on the end of that.
Did. It was a good pass into the space. So she definitely found the space, just needed the player to be in there. So the passer did their job. Putt, been impressed with her go forward this game.
And it's worked a treat there. Australia not back to 10, so inside the final 5 minutes in match 5 on day 1 of the Youth Trans Tasman Touch Championships. Australia looking for their 4th win out of 5 on the day.
New Zealand want to keep this roll on through O'Neill and Norma Bell. Just don't want to get into a static play.
So O'Neill, you can just see, telling Isla Norman Bell what she wanted here. Taking it down is Abbott. Here is Norman Bell on the inside to O'Neill. Good touch football from the Touch Blacks once again. O'Neill and Norman Bell, that link up, that combination has been superb thus far, and they get on the board for the 5th time this afternoon.
O'Neill, quick pass off the deck. Norma Bell, the follow play, just making sure that she pulls in her middle, creating the space for Olivia O'Neill to run through. Well done.
So 8-5. Remembering they were down 3-0 in the second half at one point. After it was 5-3 at the break, they conceded the first 3 tries of the second half, New Zealand. They've scored the last 2. Really strong finish here from them, giving them some confidence heading into tomorrow. Match 2 in the test series, the 3-test series.
Certainly, we want to keep things solid in the last 4 minutes here. Get their go forward. This is where they've made the money out of the go forward. Well done. It's great work by Michaela Moore.
Comes wide to Potts.
This will be the Kimura-Potts combination we see now. Williams-Pat setting herself up for a sweet play.
Just trying to draw the defence up off the line. Of course, they've got to come up off the line 5 metres out, and that build-up has worked again for New Zealand. 8-6, so now they've scored 3 unanswered tries. What you can do, Australia, we can do as well.
And I think the secret to that one was a quick ball off the deck. Potts looking wide, so the whole Australian line went out to the wing, looked inside, followed play. Brilliant work.
You're thinking Australia may have just switched off, up 8-3. Well, they're going to have to switch back on here. 2 minutes, and they lead by 2. More than enough time for the Touch Blacks to lock this one all up, as long as they don't concede here. As long as they don't concede here, and unfortunately for them, they've done just that. Isabella Slattery, easy as you like. Lovely work from King. Allowed her link an acre of space just to plant that one. Maybe O'Neill just fatigued.
There we go. O'Neill step back, causing O'Neill to come back into the frame.
Well, O'Neill was just struggling to get across, and it resulted in Collins Gilmer having to make the touch down the other end of the park. New Zealand have scored again. So they respond in this second half. 4-all since half-time. Here's the build-up from the Touch Blacks.
Stone with a nice play. Sycamore picks the ball and goes. And there we go. Following in is Michaela Moore.
We've seen that a couple of times. Australia will have to be on the lookout tomorrow for that ball up over the shoulder. Sycamore and Moore.
It's been a smart play. They're choosing their times to when to pull that one off.
So Bauer took the touch there, and now it's Fildes. Take it to within 5 of the goal line. The cutout ball. Good touch on the wing by Chamberlain.
Nice read by Bailey.
Muir on to Bryce. Back to Muir. To within 5. And now McDonald back to Muir. It was knocked on under some pressure there from Lisa Putt. Touch pass called by the official. So last 20 seconds, Australia will win this. But it's been tighter than we expected. 13-1. Remember the score last time Australia and New Zealand met in the under-20s. And the 20s girls back in the Youth World Cup a couple of years back. So in this division, different set of players obviously, but the scoreline was vastly different. New Zealand may get another one here. They're going to come within 1. The Touch Blacks, have they? A brilliant way to finish. The officials are going to have a conversation.
He calls the touch.
And full time is called at number 2 Sports Ground. What a finish there from the Touch Blacks. New Zealand coming within 2 of Australia. A second half which saw both sides get over the stripe 4 times. 5-3 at the break. And Michael King must be pretty happy with that. Based on what we're saying pre-match, it was probably anticipated that Australia would have a big win.